Welcome to the Success Agents Podcast, where we deliver weekly guests that bring insights to the elements of your business to become more profitable with knowledge, skills, and tools that help you with automation so that you have less procrastination. With your hosts, Chris Parsons and JP Fluellen.
Hey, what's up, guys? Chris could not be with us this week because he is in Philly hanging out with family. And that's what you do in the summers when you don't have a regular job and it's reliant upon you every single day. And when you're trying to balance life between real estate and that overarching employee, and you just got to kind of do what you got to do to take some time off and enjoy that. Thanks for joining us again this week at Success Agent Podcast. Last week we talked about the glooming iBuyer and how that can be possibly changing the landscape of the real estate industry, and how some of these companies are trying to eliminate real estate agents. And we came to the conclusion that you still have to have some sort of physical interaction on some level, because these real estate transactions are just way too complicated to try to automate every aspect of it. So at the end of the day, we've kind of decided that is just not going to happen. And because I think that at some point, automating that kind of stuff is going to create some sort of lawsuit at some point, because they're trying to automate too much. And this week, we've got Vlad Cherchenko with ZipCeleb. Dude, where do we go back? 3 years now, I think?
Somewhere around that.
Yeah, so I've known this guy for a while. Good dude. I'm super excited about this episode because we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the world of internet lead gen, and just kind of like, what does that look like? How many pieces are moving? Why is it that real estate agents don't do this by themselves? It's because you need a technical degree, I think, because most of us are high D, high I type personalities in the real estate world, and we just don't have the patience to sit down and figure out all the technical difficulties of some of this stuff. We just like to put it on my plate, let's eat it, and let's keep rolling. So Vlad, tell us a little about yourself and tell us your story.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'll give you a quick background about me, but really want to spend as much time giving some practical tips and tricks on what agents can do to bring in new buyers and sellers. So I've been in sales all my life since the age of 16. My first job was at Best Buy. I think I was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, employee at that time. And I was always driven to beat everybody in terms of sales numbers. And I did that for a long time, and I still do sales, but I was always interested in marketing. Like, all of the sales that I did was to the people who were already in front of me, where I could interact with them. They would come to me and I would be able to sell them something. But getting them to me is marketing. So that's the part that I didn't know anything about. And I think it was like back in 2015, 16 is when it's about 4 years now ago, when I started buying online courses on marketing. And like in between 2015 and 2018, I was looking at this not long ago, and I spent around $100,000 on online courses. And I just went through all the content out there and just trying to figure out what it takes to not just drive leads, but make sales online. And now I work with a lot of small business owners, realtors, loan officers. That's the main makeup. I work with insurance agents. So outside of generating leads, I have a business where I work exclusively with insurance agents, and I help them grow their business, because that's my background. I went from Best Buy to insurance, then from insurance to running this business where I'm doing lead generation for small businesses, as well as consulting insurance agents. So that's the high level overview of myself. And what I have found over the last several years is that there's a lot of people who take a course and they start teaching people on what it takes to generate leads. They might have one good campaign and they're like, oh, this is the way to generate leads. So they end up telling everybody about it, but every area is different. So the way you generate leads in Cheyenne is different than in LA versus Portland. So some of the same strategies apply, but there's different nuances. So I'd like to provide as much of that value in today's podcast.
So how, like, give us some origin, like, where are you from originally? And then, like, how did you, like, decide that sales was, like, the thing?
Yeah. So originally I'm from Kazakhstan. When I tell people I'm from Kazakhstan, they're like, where is that? When I tell them, when I ask them if they've seen the movie Borat, they're like, oh yeah, Kazakhstan. So the movie was not filmed in Kazakhstan. I think it was filmed in Romania. I think he's outlawed. He's never allowed to come to Kazakhstan. But that's where I'm from. And I was 3 months old when I moved here to the States. And coming in as an immigrant family, my dad's an electrician. My mom we had 8 kids in our family. So she had the toughest job. I'm the third oldest. So she was raising us, 7 boys, 1 girl. And my oldest brother got a job at Best Buy, I think when he was like 18, which was the normal age. But I would come with my mom and pick him up every single day. So she would drop me off. I would walk in the store. This was like 8 years ago before cell phone. Everybody had a cell phone. So I'd go get him, and then I'd walk out. And on the way out, I would always say hello to the managers. And I would just small talk with them. And then eventually I'm like, Mike, you need to get me a job here. So so there was like a Dairy Queen right down from my house. And that was the job that I really wanted. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I applied, I kid you not, at least 8 or 9 times. And I got declined, no return calls. And I was so devastated that I wasn't getting that job at Dairy Queen, but little did I know that I had something so much better waiting for me. And eventually when Mike put in a good word for me, and he's like, hey, you guys should just take a look at my brother. And I came into the interview. They had to go and get a few exceptions to hire a minor like that, because there's a lot of regulations when you hire someone under 18. So yeah, I got into that and I just fell in love. I was the dumbest person when it came to technology in the store. There was literally not a single person in the store that knew less about technology than me. So I would just geek out at night. So I would stay up at night. Like, my department was cameras, and like back then it was like iPods, MP3 players. So I would just learn every single feature so I'd never have to look at the tag. And like within a few months, I knew more than anyone about my little departments. And because I had that knowledge, I would try to, like, it was always a challenge for me to upsell people from a $200 point and shoot to like a $3,000 SLR, or like even $1,000 SLR. So just so we could hit our daily budget. So that's where I think that came from, that drive for sales, is to hit my daily quota. And then once I got good at that, then I got promoted to be a supervisor. And then we took a store that was one of the worst performing stores in the country. It became one of the best stores in the country by implementing the sales strategies. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I'm working way too hard to not get paid on commission, because you get paid hourly and some bonuses when you're in the corporate world. So I'm like, I'm going to go into either real estate or insurance. Those were really the 2 things that I was considering doing. And the reason I did insurance first was the agents who I met were pretty well off, and they had like big books of businesses. But yeah, that's where my sales background comes from.
Nice, man. So you transferred from Best Buy into insurance, and so tell us a little bit about that world and how it branched into creating programs and doing.
Yeah. So I applied to be a State Farm agent, and part of being a State Farm agent, you have to go through like a training program where you go to the corporate office, you learn a bunch of theoretical things, and then you open up your office, and then you have to spend your own money to hire 4 or 5 people. You have to spend your own money to market. And there's just a lot of expenses that you have with a business. So a lot of brand new agents don't make money in the first couple of years. They don't profit. So I didn't want that to be me. So I decided to work for an existing agent who was pretty successful here in our area. And I wanted to learn the inner works of what it takes to run a successful agency and really figure out if this is something I want to do. I already had my mind set that this is what I'm going to do. There's no going back, but I just really wanted a confirmation. And the best gift that he gave me, the agent who I worked for, was a restriction of who I could call. So he said, we're buying like 4,000. He was spending about $4,000 worth of internet leads. We were getting probably around 200-300 leads a month, which is more than most insurance agencies. And the agreement that we made was that I could not call those people who are shopping for insurance right now. The only people that I could call are people who requested a car insurance quote 6 months ago or prior to that. So if I call those people and I could get them to switch over, or if I went out to the community and found new clients and I brought them to the agency, then I would get paid commission on that. So I started doing that, and it was a complete disaster because I didn't expect people, I didn't know what phone sales were. And coming from a retail environment where people were coming to me, I was like, man, I'm pretty good in person. If I can sit down in front of you or stand in front of you, I could close the deal. So every time I make the phone call, I was like, man, I wish this was in person. But anyhow, so I started door knocking, and that didn't work really well because people are not at home during the day. So I was like, all right, I need to figure out a sales process where I can call leads, and as soon as someone picks up the phone, I need to hook them by saying something interesting and getting them through a conversation to where within 10, 15 minutes, they take their policies that they have with Geico, Progressive, whatever company they're with, and move it to our State Farm agency. And 6 months into it, I had a sales process dialed in because I was in the office 6 days a week, working like 10 to 12 hours, and pretty much the entire time I was on the phone. And when I would have a process that would work, I'd write it down and then just use it. And then when something else worked, I'd write it down and use it. So I had the sales process where I could call someone and go through what I now call a 6-step script. And once I go through the 6 phases, I could collect their payments information and have them be a client right there on the spot.
Wow.
And it was just rinse and repeat. I would just call 50 people, get 5 people to answer, close 1 or 2 deals right there on the spot. And that's when other agents in the area took notice, and they're like, whoa, there's this dude who's not buying leads and writing 100 policies a month, there's usually agents that have 3-4 people who don't write 100 policies as an agency a month. I was doing that by myself as one producer. So that's when they took notice, and they would come in, take out their iPhones and just record the conversation as I was calling leads. So they would just sit in my office and I would make the calls. And then they would come back to their office, transcribe the conversation, and then use the same script. And then they too were able to acquire clients. And that's when I had the epiphany. I'm like, you know what? If this is working for me, if it's working for them, then it should work for other people too. So that's when we decided to do a local workshop for agents. I didn't really know what to expect of it. We had like 20 people there. And I said, look, let's go through 4 days of training. After 4 days, if you feel like it was worth it, then you could pay. Now that's what we did. And everybody paid after the 4 days. And that's what gave me the confirmation that this is really good. And the workshop wasn't cheap. It was a few $100. It was over $1,000.
So what did your office think about that when you're starting to make money and teaching other people how to make money not in your office?
Well, I actually partnered with the agent who I was working with at that time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we started like that, but then we went our separate ways because I wanted to continue doing the consulting and doing these workshops because that was taking off, and we were charging, at one point $2,500 per person to attend, and we would have a good amount of people there. And I was like, whoa, I'm getting paid so much more from this than running an insurance agency. Why even go into insurance? But then I was like, you know what? If I have an insurance agency, I can actually share more practical advice than from the short 12 months that I was actually just a producer. So, but the company did not allow a brand new agent to run a side business as well as be an agent for them. So they're very, very, they're very strict when it comes to that. So, and at that point, I just went full into consulting and never looked back at running an agency.
How do you go from that into internet gen for real estate agents?
Well, once I started doing the consulting and I was relying heavily on email marketing, when a few things changed when it came to email marketing, as far as being able to blast out emails, I was like, shoot, I need to figure out this Facebook thing. So I started running ads on Facebook for my business as well as for other local business owners. It wasn't really local business owners. In fact, I don't think I had a client locally. It was all nationwide. And just getting them clients. And the niche that I picked was real estate, because I figured, okay, if I figure out a process to get leads for real estate agents, then I can use that same process for everyone. I don't have to recreate the wheel. So instead of having 3-4 different niches that I have to constantly innovate in, I could just have one good one. But I will say this, there are moments when I go back and I think, if I was 18 again, and I was on that, if I had to make that decision, I think it was 19 at that time, to go into insurance or real estate, as great as insurance was, and it took me to where I am right now, I wish I would have done real estate if I could go back. And now I'm at a point where I'm just so deep into what I'm doing and it's working well. I mean, I have a course that's changing lives and changing businesses. So I feel like it's my duty and obligation to sell as much of it as possible. But at the same time, and I have the freedom of like being able to make my own schedule and all the things that real estate agents want. But I've always had a passion for real estate, but never really took full advantage of it. So it's something that I plan on doing this year, is devote more time into real estate.
Well, dude, you're younger than I am, and I got a late start in real estate, man. Like,
how old were you?
Late year. Yeah, I was in my mid-30s when I got into real estate. So.
Wow. Yeah, because you were a musician before that, right?
Yeah, I was in a band for 7 years.
Yeah.
We're local. We traveled all over the state, did tons and tons of gigs. It was a lot of fun, and that was so I did real estate and I was in a band at the same time, man. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Got to do deals in between, like breaks and stuff, sending back emails and stuff as we're take a break from, doing the first set and then going back doing the second set. It was a good time. As we're traveling, I'm working on my, sending emails and all this stuff, text messages on my phone and all that,
Yeah.
And, but life's a lot different now. I got an assistant and stuff, and
you got a real business now.
Got a real business, yes.
You were flirting around with real estate when you first got started, but you have a team, you have partners that rely on you. Like, you're running a legitimate business. And that's what I appreciate about you, JP, is that I appreciate that you don't treat real estate as just like a job that you show up to sell 1 or 2 homes a month, which most agents do less than that. So they're always complaining about the deal flow, whereas you're a hunter. Like, you're up before everybody, you're down after everyone, and like, you're always thinking about this. This is your life, and I think that plays into why you're so successful now.
Yeah,
Number 1 agent in Cheyenne.
Yeah, we preach a lot. Real estate is a lifestyle. It's not a job. So you've got to really devote, the things that you're talking about and how you direct your conversations, that everybody's a possible lead. Grant Cardone talks a lot about, everybody's got money's everywhere. You just got to figure out your method of extraction,
Yeah.
And so when people talk about like, oh, I can't make any money, it's because, dude, you're not putting any effort into it. You got to put effort into it, and so you've transferred from, so now you're in the real estate space. And so talk to us about methodologies when it comes to lead gen online, specifically in the social media space.
Yeah.
And how you create this idea of, someone's just online and they're like, oh, hey, let's get involved in that and put my name and phone number in there and figure out what this is all about. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So if I could summarize the best way to get people who don't know you from online to having them be a client that you're actually working with and someone you have a really good relationship with, I would say focus on being omnipresent to fewer people who are engaging with your content. In other words, instead of running an ad and trying to reach 10,000 people one or two times, I would much rather focus on 1,000 people and hit them 100 times from Facebook, from Instagram, from YouTube, from Google Display Ads, from email. I would stay in front of that bubble of 1,000 people, and that bubble of people who I'm focusing on are people who kind of surfaced to that level. So the concept of a marketing funnel isn't new, but really there's 3 stages to it. So there's the top of funnel, middle, and bottom of funnel, or I call it the cold audience, warm and hot audience. So the cold audience are people who have no idea who you are. They've never seen you on Facebook. They've never seen you on Instagram. They've never seen you online. They've never met with you. But so that's the cold audience. So when we want to speak to them, we want to run, what I like to do is run a video ad. And if someone took like 30 seconds to a minute to watch that video or click on that link to go to a page to learn more about what it is that we're saying, then what we do within Facebook is we say, okay, tag this person or move them to an audience called our warm audience. This person has shown some interest in what it is that you're saying. So now we just took a group of 10,000 people that saw the ad, and now we're down to like a couple of thousand people who actually engaged. And then we say, okay, out of those people who showed interest and watched that video or clicked on the link and went to the sites, now we want to market to those people to have them actually put in their contact information. So now we come at them with a different message. And then once they put in their contact information, whether it's to get access to your website or they want to download a report of some kind, once they've given you their contact name, phone number, email, that gets sent to your CRM. You have the ability at this point to make a phone call and build a relationship with them. And what's funny about that is a lot of people disqualify leads based on that first conversation that they have. So they might have a conversation with someone who says, yeah, I was just browsing around, not really thinking about buying. A lot of the times when people say that, that's just a reactionary defensive response. Like they're conditioned to respond with, I was just kind of browsing, not really thinking about buying. The same way you'd walk into a retail store and somebody would come up to you and say, how can I help you? The first thing you're going to say is, I'm just looking, even though you're there to buy something. So that same approach, the same concept happens on the phone. So unless you're good at digging deep into that conversation, oh yeah, what was it that you're looking for? Are you thinking about buying a house in the next year? So very few agents are good at that conversation. But even if they say, like, I'm still 6 months out, that's where agents usually just like disqualify that lead and they never follow up with them. They focus on like the 2 to 3 people who are really hot at that moment, who told them verbally on the phone that they want to buy in the next 90 days. So they might get 100 leads, and then like 5 people might say, yeah, I want to buy in the next 90 days. And so the agents would disqualify the other 95. And that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, we call it now leads versus nurture leads.
Say it again?
Now leads versus nurture leads.
Yeah.
The nurturing piece, like, the fortune is in the follow-up when it comes to real estate. Like you have to look at this like, it's like a rain shower of leads. So you're going to have some that are going to hit you in the face. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some that are just going to roll down into the, down the street and into the drain, but the water's still there. So you still got to go back and be like, oh, there was still like life in there. We got to dig that back out and see what's, and what happens is because they're not, top of mind, they just go away. So a lot of agents just really suck at that, the ability to follow up and be like, oh yeah, I remember when, you signed up on our website, and say, hey, how's it going, whatever. But they just have very, very, very bad systems,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how many agents still work from like a notebook in a filing cabinet. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I'd say the easiest way, like you're absolutely right, that the fortunes to follow up. The most effective way to follow up with leads that have come in is by sending them a video message, educational video message once a week. And people are like, whoa, why would I do once a week? I feel like I'd be spamming my audience. I'd rather do it once a month. Cool. Well, you're not going to get any results from that. If you want to do it once a month, then you don't really care about providing value for your people. If you're creating spammy content where it's just sell, then you should even send out an email once a month. Like, just don't message your database. But if you have something important to share with them, something about like the video you did with Katie on interest rates, or your video on the exact step-by-step process to buying a home, or the different mortgage programs, instead of you having to explain all that over the phone with every client, you can just drip that content once a week. And when I get an email like that, when I get an email where it's a realtor sending me properties because their website sent that to me, I just unsubscribe from that. I'm like, I don't need to get these messages. But if I get an email and it has very little text in there, but it has like a little image that I click on and I go to see a video, I would do that. Like, I would watch that video and I might not even reply. In fact, most of the time I'm not going to reply, but if you share something interesting with me, I'm going to be like, oh, that was good. And then I'll just go back to my ways and I'll continue doing what I'm doing. But then when the moment comes where I need to buy a house, the person who is providing the most value to me is the person who I'm going to reach. So sending out these emails once a week is one thing, but one other thing that agents just don't utilize is YouTube. Like, if your main thing on when it comes to lead generation is capture leads through Facebook, that's good to get them into your database. But those same people who put in their information, visit your website, if you install the Google code on your site, then there's going to be a cookie that's installed in the person's computer or mobile phone, so that every time they're on YouTube, they're going to see your ad pop up over and over again. So really the bottom line is, JP, if I see you for the first time today on Facebook, and you're standing there and saying, hey, there's like 40 new homes that are going to be built here, and Cheyenne is growing, and if you're thinking about buying a house and you want a brand new home, then this might be a good place to do it. It's going to be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, average price is going to be that. So you talk about a new development. And I watched, I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking about 6 months from now, I do want to build a house. So I might put in my information at that time because I'm interested in that, whatever it is that you're saying, but I'm not ready to buy right now. But as soon as I do that, the best thing that you can do as an agent or whoever it is that you hire to do your marketing, which in your case is me, I need to see you every time I'm online. So if I go on Facebook, I need to see your ads, because you can set that up within Facebook to retarget people. If I go on YouTube, I should see your face pop up over and over again and have you share a message. Whenever I'm just reading articles online, there's a spot for Google display ads. And people just don't realize how cheap it is to run ads on those, like in those display as well as YouTube. We talked about this, where when you run an ad on YouTube, it doesn't cost you anything to run an ad to have someone watch a video until they've seen 30 seconds of the video. Once they've seen 30 seconds, that's when you pay. Yeah, and then if they click on the link, then you also pay as well as the marketer. So you can get so much free exposure if people don't watch 30 seconds of it. So yeah, I'd say like once a lead is captured, you got to hit them through once video email once a week. You have to make sure that you're retargeting them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Google display ads. So that's the most powerful way to stay omnipresent with people who have engaged with your content, to make sure that you're building a relationship with them without actually speaking to them yet. Yeah. And I think you've had this happen to you. You've told me where people stop you on the street and like, oh, I see you everywhere.
Yeah, I had a guy like literally pull over and stop his car in the middle of the road and say, I know who you are. I've seen your videos.
Yeah.
And then he introduced himself, and I was like, hey, that's awesome. You want to buy a house?
Yeah.
You know, it didn't turn into a house sale, but it was still pretty awesome. That working. So
That's great.
Yeah. So your company is ZipCeleb, and so how do you guys fit into that? You know, this is how we market and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what I just described to you is like the strategy of what to do. But really our focus now is getting realtors partnered with lenders and having lenders contribute to marketing and having them do it long term. So for instance, a lot of lenders, when they partner with real estate agents, they pay like $200 for like co-marketing projects, and that usually doesn't lead to anything. So like, oh, let's just cancel this. So what I'd rather do is have one solid lender partner who's paying $2,000 to $3,000 per month for the advertising that you're doing, or two lenders who are paying half of that each. And what I do is I help partner real estate agents and lenders, and have lenders contribute heavily into the advertising, so that when leads come in, the agents are the one who are proactively reaching out to leads and closing them and then referring them to lenders. Because lenders would much rather, as would realtors, get 10 warm referrals a month than 200 leads that they have to cold call. So that's the partnership that we build, is taking lenders and realtors and making sure that they're not really counting every single lead and the cost per lead, but they're looking at how many actual deals are we getting off of it every month. So yeah, that's what we do. Our website is just ZipCeleb.com. I think we have a webinar in there right now. You can watch a preview of what it is that we do. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. So I think that's a good segue to kind of wrap things up. So how does, if people want to get a hold of you directly, what's the best contact information?
Yep. So my email is just Vlad, VLAD, at ZipCeleb.com, ZipCeleb. People always ask what ZipCeleb means. It's just short for zip code celebrity, ZipCeleb. Yep.
Nice. And they can probably find you on Facebook and all that stuff too then?
Yeah. Yep. Just if you search for ZipCeleb, you'll find me.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for joining another episode of Success Agent Podcast. And if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm doing free 30-minute coaching calls right now. If you just want to give me a call at 307-772-1184, or you can email me at james.fluellen@gmail.com. And if you can't remember any of that, just JP Fluellen. It's like Ellen has the flu. And just type that into the Google bar and you'll find me everywhere. If you can't find me, then you're just not looking. So thanks again, guys, for joining us again. And we will catch you on the next episode. Vlad, thanks a lot again for showing up, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We will talk soon. And thanks, guys. And we'll catch you on the next one.